Hello and welcome to the Everything is Black and White podcast. It's time for another episode of the Mulliner and Musgrove show with me, Andrew Musgrove, and him, Sam Mulliner. Lots to talk about as we head into the final weekend of the Premier League season with everything still to play for, namely Newcastle United's Champions League qualification. Sam, welcome back to the podcast. That is where we'll start. How are you feeling? A tad nervous, I imagine?
Nervous, tense, pensive, a bit gassy. No, but yeah, it's going to be a horrific week, isn't it? Let's face it. But it's pretty much barring City firing a blank at Southampton. It's pretty much gone the way it's been expected to go. Like the other week, Villa were fortunate to beat Bournemouth. Um, Yeah, in my kind of calculations, I expected us to lose at Arsenal. I mean, especially when the bombshell of no Alexander Isak in the squad, then you just kind of tear your hair out. But yeah, look, if you'd have said to me in September, win at home and you're in the Champions League on the last day at home to Everton, you'd have, after winning a Carabao Cup, by the way, you'd have gone, "Oh my God, this is just the best season ever," and it may well be. But yeah, if it's after an hour and it's still 0-0 at St James's on Sunday, oh my word, it's going to be tense, particularly with the lack of Wi-Fi and phone signal in the stadium when you're trying to keep up to date with the goings on at the City Ground and Old Trafford for Villa and whatnot. Yeah, it's gonna be a nervy one.
It certainly is. It's going to be a nervy build-up, but you're right there. The lack of Wi-Fi and reception at St James's Park. That's when rumours can start, and you can get a false idea of what is going on. So that will not be something to look forward to. But hopefully, we don't have to be checking other scores in Newcastle
Well,
United. Just
who's
do
in the
what we need
who's in the
to.
press box for the Cron on Sunday? Aaron Lee, is Kieran in the press box on
Yep,
Sunday?
they'll be all
So,
there.
but between them, they need to bring their own PA system into the ground. So with their press Wi-Fi access, they can at least announce the latest scores to the crowd. That'd be a public service.
Indeed. But hopefully, as I say, we won't need to be checking other scores because Newcastle will just do the business. And we are going to talk this week, Sam, about the nominations for Manager of the Year. And we're going to talk about that in the context of obviously what Newcastle United can achieve on the final day of the season, because I think that does have a bearing. But first, we're going to talk actually about Newcastle's opposition who travel up to St James's Park on Sunday, and that is Everton, because they said goodbye to Goodison Park. 133 years, 2,791 games played at Goodison Park. They will now move over to the Hill Dickinson Stadium
Well, the men
next
will.
season. What did you say there?
The men will.
The men will, yes, because the women are going to be playing at Goodison Park, which is fantastic for them and
Mm.
fantastic to see the stadium being kept alive as well. They said goodbye with a 2-0 victory over Southampton. There were plenty of tears, lots of emotion at the end, as you might imagine. Did you see it? What did you make of it?
I didn't watch it live because I'm not that bothered. But yeah, I've been to Goodison. How many times? I think I've just been the once actually. It was the night we beat them 4-1. Isak's little run for Murphy, the greatest assist that wasn't given as an assist ever. Um, and as away grounds go, I liked it. I know there's a bit of hyperbolic beef between Newcastle and Everton fans, Scouse Mackems, and all that carry on. But um, one of my brothers-in-law is an Everton fan, and I quite like Goodison. I've got all the time in the world for the War Siren and Z cars. I love a bit of that. I think that's the best kind of, aside from our own and local hero and whatnot. I think that's the best kind of entrance, if you like, in the Premier League. Apart from the song they sing before it with the whole woo thing, I don't have time for that. But yeah, it's going to be concerning for them, I suppose. How do you kind of reignite an atmosphere? Arsenal, it took them 15 odd years to do it. West Ham still haven't done it. Tottenham, hit and miss. So, Everton, it could be similar to that of West Ham, where when you leave Upton Park or whatever, which was a cracking old ground, old school, close to the pitch, can be intimidating when it needs to be, same as Everton. Can they replicate that at a new stadium? Probably not. It's going to take a long time, I would imagine. But yeah, that's the challenge for them, I suppose.
Yeah, well, the Everton fans I've spoken to, and we've had one on this podcast a few times, Adam, they've been impressed with the new stadium. They've had a bit of an experience of it. Obviously, totally different to what's going to come next season. It looks quite decent, especially when you get inside, I think. But the big fear will be the atmosphere. But as I've said in the whole debate about St James's Park, for me, it's about the fans. And if you can get up for the game and you can sing your heart out, then it really doesn't really matter where you're sitting and what stadium you're sitting in. I think the fans really make the difference, regardless whether it's a 133-year-old stadium or a brand new one. I mean, I like the Everton Stadium. I like it being in amongst the houses. I like the close proximity to Liverpool as well, just across the park. So it's going to be something entirely different. This new one, obviously, over on the dock. The name change, I mean, or the name announcement, the Hill Dickinson Stadium, hasn't gone down too well with some fans. What do you make of it, Sam? And also saying goodbye to Goodison, seeing the emotion of the fans, also seeing this name announcement. Does it give you food for thought about what may come down the line for Newcastle United in their home?
Potentially, especially when it comes to stadium sponsorship and stuff like that. It's modern football for you, whether you like it or not. I suppose the time to get a stadium sponsor is when it's brand shiny new, isn't it? So you don't let that you don't let it kind of build an identity like an older stadium has. So yeah, it's the same as the Emirates. Really, that's always been called that, with a lucrative sponsorship package. So I suppose it will help them clear up their PSR woes for the foreseeable. So I don't know. It's obviously not an inspiring name, but it could be a heck of a lot worse. I don't know. You can see the arguments for both sides, but yeah, you can see that happening with Newcastle. The one kind of difference really is that, due to location, people's match day routines are going to be altered because you're going to the other side of the city, aren't you, in Liverpool now, going to support Everton. So match day rituals will have to be slightly adjusted somewhat for diehard toughies. So yeah, that's the kind of one plus point if Lees's Park does go ahead. No real match day rituals, match day routines for home fans will have to change too much.
Yeah, because obviously Leazes Park just over the way from St James's, but you are right. Goodison to the Hill Dixon Stadium, it's a little bit further, but the pub outside the new stadium will be rubbing the hands together because they've somehow landed on their feet with that. This
Oh,
naming rights deal is worth a reported £10 million per year to the club, which is not to be sniffed at. And also, it is a Liverpool company, is Hill Dickinson, founded in 1810. So predating Everton by 68 years. So maybe that makes it a little bit sweeter, I guess, that it's a local company
yeah.
with its name on the door.
Yeah, that's why I said it could be a heck of a lot worse. It could be Sports Direct, Arena. It could be it could be anything that has no kind of affiliation or anything to the club. But yeah, obviously being a local business, that's some saving grace. Obviously, whatever sponsorship you call a new stadium, it isn't exactly like, wow, what a name. It's just the modern practicalities of football these days, I'm afraid. But yeah, it could be a lot worse.
Helps bring the funds in, doesn't it? And I guess if you can
Exactly.
see that number written down, then you can accept it. And if it isn't too bad of a name change, then people will come to love it. Hopefully, in the end. I mean, would you accept Greg's being the sponsor of Newcastle's new stadium? Would that go down well with you? Doesn't quite have the same ring to it as, I mean, I know people have taken the mick out of Hill Dickinson Stadium, but sounds a little bit
Yeah,
better than the Gregg Stadium, doesn't it?
yeah, the steak bake park. Yeah, no, yeah, no, that's not for me.
No. Well, we'll see what happens. Obviously, that's going to be many years down the line. But yeah, the emotion on show on Sunday, David Moyes, who's come and done a fantastic job as well. He was on the
Again,
pitch, and it was, I mean, it must be difficult for him as well, because obviously he was there the first time around for many, many years. Took them well up the table, and then he's come back, kind of gone full circle, really. And he's got a big job, hasn't he, in terms of making sure they start well at their new home.
yeah, and they'll want to finish the season on a high as well, and really spoil our party. So yeah, that game does worry me slightly, but then, as we've discussed in previous weeks, I am a nervous Nelly when it comes to things like this. So, yeah, but they will want to finish the season on a high. Jordan Pickford will be rubbing his little arms together, thinking that he can really, he'll be in his element playing the pantomime villain again. But hopefully the players on the pitch, the fans in the stand, don't get sidetracked by that narrative and stick with the players on the pitch, because they're going to need every bit of our support. It's going to have to be PSG levels on Sunday to help get us over the line. An early goal like we got against Chelsea would certainly help settle the nerves, but yeah, we need a proper Newcastle United atmosphere on Sunday.
I'm sure we'll get it. But just
Yeah.
on Jordan Pickford, because you do fear that Hollywood ends in. I mean, it'd be a horror story for Newcastle United if he decided to have the game of his career. How do we deal with Jordan Pickford? How do the fans deal with Jordan Pickford? Because we've seen how easily he does get wound up at St James's Park if the fans get on top of him. But also, I feel like that could come back to bite Newcastle right on the behind, because it might just be that little added bit of motivation that he needs on Sunday. I don't want to see any dinosaurs in the crowd. I don't want to see that on Sunday. I don't know about you. I feel like you might be a dinosaur man.
I would never take one because I'm a 35-year-old father of two with a life. But um, have I thrown around dinosaurs in the away end at Everton before? Who's to say? We can only speculate. I would, yeah, I kind of agree with you. I'm not going to tell people not to bring dinosaurs because do what you want. But I take your point that could kind of spur him on. I think the best way to deal with it is just to ignore him for the first 70 minutes, and then when we're 2 or 3 up, then you can get the dinosaurs out and do what you want. Um, but yeah, it's the players in black and white have to come first on Sunday, so that should be where the main focus lies.
Indeed, but I'm fully expecting someone to be in a grown-up fancy dress costume of a dinosaur, and you
Yeah, good
see
luck
that
to him.
little bobbing head, running down the leads as other Gallagher. So I'm fully expecting that to happen, even though I don't want it to. But as you say, we're not here to tell people what to do. Huge game on Sunday, and we'll have the match preview and the view from the opposition later in the week. Let's move on to the second topic. And in fact, just before we do that, just a quick reminder, ladies and gents, that this episode is sponsored by NordVPN. And you can click the link in the podcast description box to get an exclusive discount on your NordVPN plan. You can head over to nordvpn.com/tune, where you can take advantage of a host of offers and benefits from signing up to this deal. Protect your data while traveling using public Wi-Fi. It's also the fastest VPN in the world. No buffering, lagging while streaming, and stops your ISP bandwidth from throttling. Loads of other benefits to sign up. Really cheap
Oh, there's
as
nothing
well.
worse than throttling bandwidth.
Exactly. There isn't. You don't want that. This stops it. So there you go. And do sign up and support the podcast as well as protecting yourselves. Second topic of the day, then, Sam. And it's the Manager of the Year nominations. And I'm looking at this. So I'll run through the names. Obviously, you've got Eddie Howe. You've got Nuno at Forest. You've got Slot at Liverpool. Thomas Frank at Brentford. And Pereira down at Wolves. I think you can straight away write out Frank and Pereira. I mean, they've done
Agreed.
good jobs. Pereira's done a
Agreed.
remarkable since coming in.
Yeah,
Frank, though,
Brentford have kind of had it now, really, losing at home to Fulham last weekend. That's really dented their kind of. I mean, obviously, Palace winning the FA Cup, fantastic for them, amazing. But that's kind of not help things in terms of that clutch of teams trying to finish eighth. Your Brightons, Brentfords, Fulhams, Bournemouths of this world. It's done them no favours whatsoever. I think if Chelsea finish seventh and they win the Conference League, then eighth place does reopen up, sort of thing. But yeah, there's permutations plenty, isn't there? But yeah, I agree. You can't really have Frank there. He's done a good job, but obviously to win an accolade like that, it's probably just a step beyond him. Same with Pereira.
yeah, I mean, if they manage to finish eighth, Brentford, which there's still a possibility, they would need Brighton to lose on Sunday to Tottenham, which probably isn't going to happen. And
No.
Brentford would need to beat Wolves, and they would go up to 58 points, but they do have a better goal difference than Brighton. But it depends on Brighton losing. That would equal Brentford's highest ever finish in the Premier League. So you haven't beaten it. So, and you won't get European football unless Chelsea fall out of the top six and win the Conference League. So yeah, I think you can write off Frank. Nuno's interesting because I think if he gets Champions League, having come in
There's your
and
winner.
taken Forest from relegation candidates to Champions League football, I think he probably gets it ahead of Eddie Howe. Does he get it even if they just finish seventh and get into the Europa League? Possibly, I think, because I mean they were looking like they were going down. He's done a tremendous job. Yes, they spent a bit of money. Yes, they got the points deduction, but he's been tremendous this season. Slot, I mean, look, Liverpool are worthy champions. They've romped to the title, but does he deserve Manager of the Year, Sam? I
Yes,
mean, is it that big of an achievement?
yes, and it pains me to say it because I don't like Liverpool. I'd go one step further than that actually, but everyone was tipping Liverpool to fall on their backside this season in a transitional phase. They hadn't really spent. They only bought in Chiesa, and he's gone and won the league. So they're the only ones that haven't tripped over themselves when City have done. Um, so yeah, he does. He does absolutely deserve it. So as much as it pains me to say, I still think if Nuno gets Champions League, then he probably wins it. Um, Eddie Howe, again, it's Premier League Manager of the season, isn't it? So can you really take the cup win into account for an award like this? I don't know.
Well, you shouldn't be able to, but I remember a few seasons ago, didn't Klopp win it? And I'm sure they've referenced the fact that he won the League Cup because they beat Chelsea with
Yeah,
kids. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm sure it
and
was
Van Dijk.
mentioned and referenced in that. I'm sure he won it, or at least he was nominated with it referenced. And looking here at the nominations this year, it's not mentioned at all in Eddie Howe's kind of bio or whatever you want to name it. But look, I mean, getting Champions League with the squad that he's got is a remarkable achievement, and I just wonder whether those making the decisions. I know it's a bit of a public vote as well as a panel as well, isn't it? Do they look that deep into it? Do they look at it and compare the
Um,
squads?
I mean, with the squad he's got, yeah, with the team he's got, it shouldn't be a surprise. But
Yeah, but the
yeah,
squad, but the
yeah,
squads
no, hundred
add to
percent,
the
hundred
team, does it
percent, yeah,
not? Because you have a fresher starting 11 if you've got the
yeah.
squad to play
I
with.
get that. I get that. Yeah, he's absolutely a contender. Of course he is. It's tricky. We kind of have to wait and see what happens Sunday first, doesn't it? Um, also, there's still so many contributing factors that are away from Newcastle. City play their game in hand tonight against Bournemouth. They face a tricky little trip to Craven Cottage on the final day. Um, I don't know. If you're saying a top four achievement finish is worthy of a nomination for Howe, then oh God, again it pains me to say it. Then would Unai Emery not feel a bit kind of hard done by not being nominated as well? Why am I backing up the two teams I hate the most? I do not know. But you know the point stands. it's one of them. But yeah, Howe will go down forever as a Newcastle legend for winning that cup. If we do get Champions League to go with that, then it's been the best season of our lifetimes by a million miles. So yeah, for that I suppose, and what he's done for this football club, yeah, he's well worth a nomination. Um, it may have been more of a convincing argument had we have maybe finished second. But obviously with the defeat at the weekend, that can't happen now. But yeah, he's a lively contender, but I can't see him winning it.
Yeah, I think if Nuno gets Champions League football, and according to the Boffins, Forest are least likely to do so. But if he
Yeah,
does,
but I disagree. I fancy them on Sunday to beat Chelsea, and I think Chelsea will fall, and then it's in our hands. And then I think I don't know. Will it be will it be Villa and Chelsea missing out? I'm not sure. You would kind of, on the bare form of things, would you back Villa to win at Old Trafford? Probably, especially after coming off the back of Man United um, in the Europa League final tomorrow. But when there were a bit of signs of life from Man United on Friday, I know they lost, and they were always going to against Chelsea. But there was some. I'd have more faith in Man United getting something against Villa than we're at Tottenham.
no, I
So
agree with that.
I don't know. I don't know how things stand, but again, we can't be reliant on getting favours from other teams because it just won't happen. So, um, I think it's winner take all for Forest. Chelsea will they end up cancelling themselves out and get a draw? Man City are a penalty kick away from securing their place in third probably, but then again they missed a spot kick on Saturday in the cup final, so you never quite know. It's been a enthralling season for this kind of scenario only, really. For me, the league was sewn up in September, and I'm sure I told you this on a podcast in September, October time. And relegation looked a pretty a formality anyway. So yeah, the only thing keeping the Premier League alive this season is this race for the Champions League, and it'll go down to the final minute of the season. I've no doubt.
Indeed. Hopefully, though, as you say, Newcastle just do the job that we all know they need to do, not relying on anybody else. But yes, I think if Forest get Champions League football, there's your manager of
Yeah.
the season. As you said there, if the season had and was sewn up by September, October time, then there's a strong argument that Slot gets it. So Eddie Howe probably comes in about third, even if they get the Champions League qualification. That I
But the
think
the
they will
point
do.
about September October time isn't anything to do with slot. It's to do with the Arsenals and Man Cities of this world just falling at hurdles. So um,
True, but I mean, you can't argue with Liverpool's win rate and points on the board. They have been brilliant. I know they've not had the best competition, but they have been superb. So people will be putting him top of the list. But then
yeah,
Nuno
I get
pushing them
that, but
towards
they've
the top
they've
is
not been put under
fair.
pressure like they were in a Carabao Cup final, for instance.
Yes, indeed, indeed. And next year, maybe if Newcastle manage to sign the right players. But again, that probably relies on Champions League football. Let's not think about it. Getting a little bit nervous. Moving on to the next talking point then, and it's about a report that has linked one of Man City's most expensive signings to Newcastle United, and that is Mr. Jack Grealish. Now, we've ran a poll on chroniclelive.co.uk, and you can see here that Newcastle United fans who have voted do not want Jack Grealish to sign this summer for Newcastle United. 71% of people have said no to the question, should Newcastle sign Jack Grealish this summer? 10% have said yes, and 19% have said only on loan. Sam, where do you sit on this?
Firmly on its windpipe. Just no, no. I
Why?
no. I could name you. Well, for a start, we don't need another left winger. I've never rated Grealish as a top player ever, even when he won us the championship with Aston Villa on that final day of the season. Remember, he's not for me. He never has been, never will be. It was a ridiculous sum of money that City paid for him. never understood the hype. He'd probably be better suited to someone like a Nottingham Forest.
But then is he better than Hudson-Odoi on the left?
Yes.
Oh, okay, interesting. Because if you ask me which one I would prefer, it'd be Hudson-Odoi over Jack
Yeah, no,
Grealish.
he just does nothing for me whatsoever. Never has. If you're going to get another winger, we need one on the right hand side, not the left. Because
If Newcastle needed one on the left, and I know we don't because we've got Harvey Barnes and we've got Anthony Gordon, but if they did, would you answer change?
no, he'd be way down my list. Way, way, way down. Way down.
Well, I agree with you.
That would be a potential panic loan signing on deadline day, at best.
No, I agree. I think it's interesting. We've spoke a lot on this podcast about Newcastle kind of coming to the crossroads of their transfer strategy, and at some point, they're going to have to break their wage barrier and really spend big on wages, potentially a massive fee as well. And you don't want that to be Jack Grealish. You don't want that to be him at all. I've never understood all the attention he gets and all the hype. I've never really bought into all that. I think he's a talented player, but
Yeah,
what was it, 100 million that Villa managed
yeah,
to get from us? That's a brilliant bit of business from their side of things, and they've obviously built really well since selling them on. But look, Man City are in a horrible situation at the moment. Things have gone really badly for them, and yet he hasn't turned to Jack Grealish to fix it. And I think that says all you need to know about Jack Grealish and
yeah.
how he would
When you've
impact.
lost your place to Alan St. Minimum in that City team for that cup final, 2 years in a row, might I add, Grealish has not been um, called upon to play any sort of part in a cup final whatsoever. He will leave City this season, I have no doubt. You might see a kind of romantic bid from Aston Villa potentially, should they not sign Rashford on a permanent. Which, if I was them, I wouldn't anyway. But yeah, he's just not for me. He will leave City this season. I think he had one good season under Pep, and that was it. He's flattered to deceive for pretty much the whole time in his Man City career.
Indeed, and I think we've just summed it up there. Please do not sign Jack Grealish. If
I
anyone
don't think
watching
we
and
will.
listening, I don't think we will either. If anyone watching and listening disagrees with Sam and I, do let us know in the comments, because I know there's a few out there who wouldn't say no to Grealish playing in black and white next season. But for me, nah, just not the man at all. As Sam says, we're oversubscribed. We're ready on the left. We need to go out and get that right winger. It'd be huge wages. If it was a permanent deal, it'd be a canny fee as well. The
Yeah,
majority of the
and
back
that's
budget,
not
you can
gonna
imagine.
that's not gonna amortize, and that's just gonna do us no favors with PSR. There's no sell on value. There's no. It just goes against everything that has been our transfer policy over the past few years.
There we go. No to Jack Grealish then. On to our kind of final topic then, and it is Sunderland in the playoffs this weekend down at Wembley, facing Sheffield United. And the big question, Sam, the only question really, is do you want Sunderland to win that game and to come back up to the Premier League?
Couldn't care less.
You genuinely couldn't care less. You don't have an answer one way or the other.
If they do, they do. 6 points next season. If they don't, they don't. 6 points next season from Sheffield United. It's that simple.
You see, I thought you would be firmly in the no category here. You want them to get absolutely hammered.
Well, if they do, they do. That I don't. Maybe it's. I mean, you could. Geordies could fire at me and say, "Well, you're not from the area and whatnot, so you don't have that um, kind of local rivalry deep within you." I hold my hands up and accept that, but supported Newcastle United for 30 years, so there is a bit in there. Let's not get away from that. But I don't wake up every morning and have Sunderland on my brain and how they do. The same probably can't be said for those in red and white. If they do, okay, fine. It'll be great to have the derbies next season. It'll be good crack. But if they don't, it's like unlucky.
Yeah, I'm in the same kind of boat as you, actually. Like, if they lose
Well,
to
it's just
Sheffield
very dull
United,
this week. You've basically agreed with everything I've said,
I
which
know
is
it's been a
very,
strange episode, hasn't it?
very
We're
unusual.
on the same page. If they lose to Sheffield United at Wembley, I'm not going to be too fussed. I don't want them to win because it's
Yeah, I'm not
Sunderland, but
cheering
also
for it.
like you, I'm not obsessed by it, and I actually do. It's strange because I do miss the derbies, and I want the derbies back. But I'm not at the point where I say I want Sunderland to win on Saturday because I just,
Yeah,
as a
no,
Newcastle United
it's
fan, I can't say
no.
that because it pains me, and I don't want them to win, but I want the derbies back. So it's a bit of a strange situation to be in. But I see people on social media, and this debate is raging, especially in the last week since they beat Coventry. You can't be a proper Newcastle United fan if you want them promoted, if you want them back in the Premier League. I just think, goodness me, like what does it matter? People have different opinions on it. If people want them back in the Premier League, that's fine. If they don't, that's also fine. My opinion is that I want them back in the Premier League to face Newcastle United because I think we've had them down in League One. We've had them out of the Premier
Very
League since
funny.
2017. They've been on that journey. We are now streets ahead as a club, as a team, as a city. And the ambitions are so vastly different. But the best way to be the best in a two-team rivalry is to beat that team twice a season. And we haven't had that luxury. We haven't had that chance, have we, for many a year? So get them back up. Let's have these derby days and let's prove on the pitch that we are the better side. And let's have these derby days back because I do miss them. They're horrible. I have to admit they are horrible. The build-up
Yeah,
is excruciating. It's a
yeah,
little bit like this. It's a little bit like looking forward to this Sunday in many ways. You kind of just want it over and done with.
yeah.
But there's no sweeter feeling than beating Sunderland, and I've missed that feeling. I know we did it last year in the FA Cup, but I want it on a more regular basis. So
Mhm.
I want the derbies back. Do I want them to win on Saturday? No, I don't. But I don't know how else they're going to get back in the Premier League other than winning. So
I think there is a crumb of comfort for Newcastle's travelling support that whoever wins that playoff final, there's going to be 3 northern teams promoted from the championship. So you might be home for tea for a change. Um, so yeah, that's kind of good. Looking forward to Leeds next season. That's always a cracking day. But yeah, if they I mean, no, it's. I think you're forgetting when they lose, when Sunderland lose at Wembley. It is, amongst everything else, it is very, very funny. Um, we had 2 great series on Netflix about it as well. Yeah, it's just very, very funny. But especially that Charlton game, it's hilarious. So yeah, if they do, fine. If they don't, unlucky. So yeah, whatever
well,
happens,
this is it.
happens.
It goes back to what you were saying. Like I'm not obsessing with it. Like I'm not waking up and thinking about it. If they win on Saturday, it's not going to spoil my evening. I'm not going to go around
I
being really
probably
angry
won't
about
watch the
it.
game.
No, I won't. I'll just check the score full time and that'll be it. And then you go, okay, Derby Day next season, first fixture we look for come June, whatever it is when the fixtures are released.
Yeah,
If they get beat, yeah, people have a little laugh at the crying kids in the crowd, and then you just get on with your day, right? Like
yeah,
that's what it is.
yeah. Just yeah. Um, Sink your teeth into the memes that will go around on X or Twitter or whatever it's called
Cold
this
these
week.
days.
Yeah, MySpace, Bebo. Yeah,
That was
so
probably the last time Sunderland win the Premier League. One of those platforms is
quite
probably alive
possibly.
and
I used to
kicking.
love MySpace when I was in college. Brilliant.
Back in the day, very music heavy, wasn't it? But
Yes,
yeah, let us know in
please.
the comments your thoughts. Do you want Sunderland to win on Saturday? Do you want them back in the Premier League, or are you in the boat where you want them to hurtle as far down the league system as possible? And just before we sign off, Sam, news today that Pep Reina will retire at the end of the season, 42. I know you've got your membership to the Goalkeepers Union. One of the best goalkeepers we've seen in the Premier League. Rafa Benitez, of course, signed him at Liverpool, signed him, and that will be. And I also wanted to sign him at Newcastle as well. A deal that didn't come off. But what do you make of that news? Was he one of your favourites in the Premier League?
I just hope he's okay after that stinging headbutt from James Perch.
if you haven't seen Headbutt, ladies and gents, go back and watch it, because I don't think Perchy will be winning any Oscars for his fall to the floor. And I did say this to him at a live event as well. I made the point that it was one of the worst reactions I've ever seen. And
What would have happened with that in a world of VAR?
interesting, very interesting, because he does make contact. Perchy, though, does over-egg it somewhat. I think the fact that the contact is made by Reina, it would still warrant a red card. And I
Just
guess
stick with the on-field decision, I would imagine, which obviously was red. But
yes,
would a referee go and send him off knowing he has the comfort of VAR? I mean, it was obviously a shambles again in last week's cup final. How Henderson was on the pitch to save that penalty in the first place. I just stunned, staggered. Yeah.
not a goal scoring, not a what was the what? It was not a goal scoring opportunity, right?
Well, if he hadn't swiped it away, then Haaland was in on goal and he would have had an opportunity to score.
Come on, let's not do this. Let's not. We've managed to get through the full episode without talking about VAR. Let's
Oh,
just
did it?
ignore what
Well,
happened.
well done, Palace. But yeah, don't know about that one. But yeah,
Well,
great scenes.
we know about it. It was god awful, but I don't want to speak about it because I'm just sick of speaking about VAR. They had a good week last weekend, and then it spoiled it at the final. But
Well, hopefully nothing happens this weekend that we're left to rue. Obviously, that we just a nice formulaic 2-0 win, much like what we got at Chelsea. Yes, there'll be moments where Everton will attack because they're no slouches. They're still a good side, rejuvenated, of course, but yeah, it's going to be a nervy day. I'm in the sensory room with my son on Sunday, so yeah, tense times.
well, hopefully it's the result that we all want, and you can enjoy your afternoon. Newcastle can qualify for the Champions League. Thank you to you guys for watching and listening. Do get involved
Quick
in the
question:
comments. Go on.
if we do get Champions League, who's the one team you want to play away?
It's got to be either Barcelona or Real Madrid, right?
Not Barcelona for me. We've been there, we've done that, and they're not at the new camp at the moment, are they? Although is it back open in time for next season?
I'll be honest. I have no knowledge of that.
I don't think it is. We got mine last season, wasn't it? When I got to go to Dortmund, and they have had a topsy turvy season themselves. Dortmund, they were 11th when Kovac took over, and they just got top four and qualified for next season's Champions League on the final day of the season, which is a bit annoying in some sense because there's a couple of players that I would really like us to poach from their squad, some of which may be available anyway because they've got to lower the old wage bill a bit, and some that were fancied by Terzic and Nuri Sahin, which was a god awful appointment. Aren't that fancied by Kovac, so there could be some players available there from Dortmund. But yeah, we went there. I agree with you. Real Madrid would be an experience, or somewhere just completely at the arse end of nowhere. I don't know, somewhere completely stupid. But yeah, Real Madrid would be an experience, wouldn't it?
Yeah, go big or go home, I think is the saying that fits that answer to your
Yeah.
question. But thank you to you guys for watching, listening. Do hit subscribe, do hit thumbs up, do leave us a rating and a review. Do click the link in the podcast description box for your NordVPN plan, as well as a visit to Crown Trade as well. Lots of lovely black and white colors you can choose from if you're going to redecorate any part of your house, and other colors as well. I mean, you might not want to go black and white, but do click the link and have a little deeks. Thank you to Sam for popping on to the Mulliner and Musgrove show. Fingers crossed, it's all 3 points for Newcastle on Sunday. Enjoy the rest of your week.